And there we go. We're live. Hi, everyone. Happy May 8th. A new pope has been elected. We're going to keep that as part of this video because it's a monumental time, a historical moment in time, I guess. But not only has a new pope been elected, but we also have Scalis here, which is also very exciting. Today, we're going to be doing a demo of their product. We have CEO Brandon with us and Lizzie, who I believe is the chief evangelist, if I'm not mistaken, product lead, recruiter extraordinaire, who's part of the Scalis team, who are both going to be showing us and walking us through the product. We're really excited to have y'all here. We're excited to take a look. Brandon, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, it's nice to meet all of you who I haven't met before. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see this? Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So first, I'll just start with a quick background about myself and the team. So I'm Brandon. I'm one of the co-founders of Scalis. Previous to this, I had a Shopify Plus agency that I scaled to about 60 full-time team members using Lever for hiring and recruiting at that organization, and then sold that business in 2022 to start Scalis, actually with my younger brother, who was on the job seeker side of things and was going through graduation and dealing with all the pain points that come with that process. And then we have Lizzie on the call with us today as well, who's our VP of product, chief evangelist, chief everything almost. And she was formerly director of people ops in her previous roles over the past 10 years, most recently at Recharge, which is a greenhouse workday business. So she's our in-house expert. And then we have Roy, who's our CTO, and this is sort of the core founding team. The two questions that we had before we even came to the idea of Scalis was Lizzie and myself from the talent acquisition side, which was, why are my pipelines flooded with so many unqualified candidates despite spending a bunch of money on sourcing? And then from the job seeker side, being my brother and countless others, was, why do I keep receiving such ridiculously irrelevant recommendations from job boards? He was getting recommendations to go be a forklift operator, an air traffic controller, a part-time women's shoes associate at a Macy's across the country, crazy things that make zero sense in any way whatsoever. So when we all came together and overlaid those experiences on one another, we set out to solve what we viewed as the root of the problem, which is the actual recommendations themselves. Why are these job boards and these sourcing agents so bad at actually matching the right candidates to the right roles? So we dug into the market and identified two really large gaps. The first, which is shown in this slide here, is a one-way flow of information in data. So whether you're using LinkedIn, sourcing agents, it doesn't matter. As soon as they get passed over into the ATS, the sourcing mechanism loses all visibility into the candidate. So they don't know the quality of the candidate that was sent over, which round of the interview process they make it to, what are they scoring on their skills assessment tests, what are you ranking them internally on their scorecards, what is the AI interview note taker picking up from the interviews that they're doing, who's a silver medal candidate, who's a bronze medal candidate, who gets hired, who doesn't get hired. I can go on and on about the immense amount of data that is in any given application process that is not getting passed back into the sourcing mechanisms. So this is why, even though in my business previous to this, I was hiring for 2 roles over and over again for 5 years, the process never improved, even though I was using the same tools and the same platforms to do that hiring, because there's no feedback loop and there's no reinforcement learning, which is what is needed to improve and optimize to a given outcome over time. That, combined with the lack of network effects in the ATSs that exist in the market today, it doesn't matter if there's 10,000 businesses using any given ATS or 100, it's still the same end product to both the companies and the candidates that are leveraging that solution. So if I'm a business and I'm intaking an applicant, but they've already applied to my ATS system, but 5 other times at other organizations, I don't benefit from the fact that they've applied to 5 other companies that are using the same ATS as me. And for the candidate, they don't have any benefit to the fact that they've already gone through 5 application processes with a greenhouse or a lever or on and on and on, any ATS insert there. So once we identified those 2 missing components, we surrounded Lizzie with a handful of super user advisors from like the top 6 ATSs that we viewed in the market and created an end-to-end solution to solve for both of those pain points on that prior slide. So you can essentially think of Scalis as an ATS plus a job board. So the process works the exact same in terms of, from an ATS standpoint. Post a job in Scalis, it distributes organically to about 30 different job boards for free. There's over 3,000 options that you can choose to pay for more distribution. We have a Chrome plugin for sourcing, AI sourcing as well. But as soon as those candidates actually apply into the system, we have an AI parsing tool that's extracting all of that candidate information, processing it through natural language processing, and creating a standardized and structured Scalis profile for that applicant. That's important for a variety of reasons, which we'll cover over the rest of this call. But immediately that gives you over 50 different filtering options that you can slice and dice your pipelines with, that you can use on your talent pool. And so as opposed to just reviewing resumes as they come in, you could have 1,000, you can get to your short list of 50 with hard data points based off of actual skill sets, and have those as saved views that set up auto reminders and things like that. Now, once you actually hire somebody or a few people through that pipeline, what happens to the rest of those candidates? Well, we take all the structured data and all the screening questions that they answered in step 3, plus all that proprietary data that's getting aggregated as they go through that application process, things like the AI interview note taker, what you're filling out in your scorecards, et cetera. And that is all getting processed and fed into our own recommendations engine, which then turns around and matches those candidates into other open roles within the Scalis ecosystem. So we have an ever-growing talent pool that grows by thousands per day, just off the backs of the other businesses that are leveraging the ATS to hire. So imagine if you were able to take advantage of all the insights and all the data that was being aggregated across the hiring efforts of every business that's leveraging whatever ATS that you're currently on. And that's somehow turned into a sourcing mechanism for talent for your organization as well. So our proprietary data set and that closed loop ecosystem is really what's enabling this first of its kind solution. That proprietary data set is what differentiates us from any other AI sourcing agent or ATS that's out there. If you're an AI or sourcing agent, you're limited to publicly available information. There's certain parties out there, whether it's People Data Labs, Crunch Labs. That's the foundation for all of them. We leverage the same tools, but we're also being able to tap into that proprietary data set of all those learnings from candidates going through application processes with our ATS. So I'll jump into the product a bit, and then I'm going to hand it off to Lizzie to actually screen share through it. But end to end, from job requisition all the way through candidate assigning the offer letter until we pass them off into the HRIS system, that's where Scalis sits in the stack. So we can launch new jobs with pre-filled fields and role-based defaults. You can copy from existing jobs. We have automated approvals throughout the entire process. So you can route requisitions to the right approvers with no manual coordination. We have AI job description generators that you can leverage that will base themselves off of the templates that you provide as well. So those are reusable over and over again, especially if you're hiring for evergreen roles. Again, I already mentioned the effortless job board distribution. We have the automated free listing distribution. You have the premium ad network that you can tap into as well. And with one click, you can publish, update, or remove those listings across multiple channels. That structured candidate data is a key component to the Scalis ATS that doesn't exist in the market today. And that gives you over 50 different search filters, including skills, experience, tags, things like average tenure at their past 3 roles, location-based filtering. All of that can be set up and saved as search filters in your pipeline that you can readily reuse over and over again. And a lot of this came out of my background in e-commerce, where I was using tools like Salesforce or Klaviyo, and working with e-commerce businesses, I can create segments based off of customer data, like previous purchasing behavior, time spent on site, things like that, to create automated segments that will just grow over time. The same concept applies here. And that also lays the foundation for our match score, which is a 1 to 100 ranking of how likely that candidate is going to be a good fit for your role, based off of the criteria set forth in the job description, what we know about you as an organization, and then what we know about that particular candidate. The way that our match score is different than some of the other match scores that have been rolled out on the other ATS players in the market is in a couple of different ways. The biggest one is the real-time nature of it with the reinforcement learning component. So as you're progressing and rejecting candidates through a pipeline, the match scores are updating in real time for all of the other candidates based off of the feedback that you're putting into the system. You're also able to pre-train it before you make a migration over to Scalis by providing us with past successful hires that we can funnel into the system. Because if you get started with us from day one and you're hiring for, let's say, an account executive, we know what industry you're in and we know what an account executive typically looks like in that industry. But to get company specific, we really need those company insights shared with us so that we can pre-train the algorithm in order to enable that for you. And none of this requires any additional effort. There's no tagging or manual input needed. You just interact with the ATS the same way that you would with any other ATS, and that is what is powering the learnings. And this entire data set was seeded by other recruiting experts in the space. So we're talking, tens of thousands of matches that have been done manually to be the foundation for this actual matching algorithm that we have in the market today. I already touched on the Chrome extension, LinkedIn, GitHub, ability to push right into Scalis, automatically detects whether or not they already have an existing Scalis profile, because some of those candidates may have already applied to another business using Scalis. And then it'll also show you whether or not they've applied to roles at your organization as well. And there's auto enrichment involved in this process as well, because of the fact that we still also partner with those third-party data providers like People Data Labs. We can pull in that information to augment the data that Scalis has as well, to really provide a robust and complete profile on every applicant that you bring into the system. Next is automation of candidate rediscovery. So let's say you're sitting on 100,000 past applicants in your current ATS and you migrate over to Scalis. We immediately refresh all that candidate data with up-to-date information from the web and provide verified emails where we have it, so that you can start to put them into nurturing campaigns to actually be able to tap into those past applicants in a meaningful way, versus sitting on a bunch of static data that goes stale in your ATS, within a couple of months or a year. And then the ability to automate outreach across every channel. So multi-channel email and SMS sequence, smart reply detection, the performance tracking, all of this personalized at scale. We've taken a lot of our background in sales tools and technologies, whether it be Apollo, Instantly, Close.io, and brought that into the sourcing component of our platform, so that you can really start to reach out and target those 700+ million profiles that we're auto sourcing from to be able to bring into your pipelines. Big pain point from Lizzie's experience, and then also a lot of others, is the need to bring in other third-party solutions to make your ATS an end-to-end solution. So things like interview scheduling, document management, all of that is native to Scalis. So we have a real-time bi-directional sync with Google and Outlook to avoid conflicts and manual scheduling. We have our AI note taker that sits in on that interview as well, and will autofill scorecards for your hiring managers that they can then adjust after the fact. And then the smart scheduling links as well, that will allow for single interviewer, multi-interviewer, and then send separate interview invites depending on if they're an interviewer or if they are an interviewee. And we partner with Combo to power over 35 different HRIS integrations. So Workday, Deal, Bamboo, Rippling, ADP, on and on and on, sort of the top 35 that you would expect. We're able to pass those candidates directly over once they sign the offer within the Scalis system. Another big pain point from Lizzie's experience in her previous roles was having to export data and then use visualization tools like Power BI to be able to actually, get actionable reports and insights, either to take action on or to be able to provide to senior level management. So the way that we created our pipelines, and Lizzie will get into this when she shares the demo, is with that top of mind. So we have parent level milestones, and you can create an unlimited number of stages that live within those parent milestones. So you can still have org-wide analytics. And we have custom dashboards and custom reporting. There's 5 out-of-the-box dashboards and then 8 out-of-the-box reports. But you can create an unlimited number of custom dashboards, which are made up of custom widgets thereafter as well. And all those can be auto-scheduled so that you can have it go out on a weekly basis to key stakeholders, or however you want to set that up. So that's pretty much the vast majority of the ATS, but then we also have the job seeker side of things as well. Because the way that the flow works is when a candidate comes in, and if they apply to your role, let's say from LinkedIn, and they've never been in the Scalis ecosystem before, they don't know that they have the rest of this ecosystem to tap into until after they get rejected from that first role that they applied to. Then they receive a message that says, hey, you already have the Scalis profile created. Would you like to opt in to receive other recommendations from our network to be able to tap into? I think we've had 2 candidates thus far say no, they don't want to receive those other recommendations. And so they have an entire dashboard where they can set job seeker preferences, where they can fill out additional information, where they can track all their applications, both Scalis and non-Scalis, within essentially like a mini CRM for job seeking. And we're continuing to invest a lot in that candidate experience and what we can provide to them for free, to continually keep engagement high and make sure that they're readily using the Scalis platform. And that's essentially it. I'll hand it over to Lizzie to actually walk through the platform.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to take over here. Thank you so much, Brandon. All right, so I believe that most of us on this call know how an ATS works and the main functions of an ATS. So I'm going to keep it pretty high level, but I am going to touch on the parts where are my favorite parts and what we do differently and why I think that our solution is a lot more suitable and a lot more user-friendly than other systems out on the market right now. So first, when you log in, you're going to hit the job dashboard. If any of you guys were using like some OG legacy systems, you would log in and just see all your jobs. Well, I really wanted to bring that back because you're able to make quick decisions and reach your jobs in your pipelines a lot more quickly versus having to click 6 times just to see your pipelines. So you log in here, you see your list of jobs. These are obviously based on the permissions within the system. So if you are a hiring manager, you're just going to see the jobs that are assigned to you, if you're an interviewer, or if you're an admin or a recruiter, so on and so forth. If I want to take a look at my pipelines, I can just toggle this pipeline on. That way I can see which jobs might need my attention the most. Like Brandon had said, we bucket our stages and interviews within these milestones for cleanliness. I'll go into that a little bit more when I show the pipeline templates. But through here, you can see how your pipelines are looking. This is a great high-level view, especially for executives who just want to jump in the system and just want to see how things are running. They can do that. If I want to jump into the pipeline, all I have to do is click View Pipeline. So Brandon kind of mentioned the structured data resume parsing. So this is one thing that separates us a ton from people that are currently, or systems that are currently on the market. So when the candidate applies, they drop in their PDF resume, our AI parsers and structures all of that data. So that way we can power our advanced filtering mechanisms. And then we kind of put it into this Asana style, Monday style, board and list. All of these columns are customizable to you. You can choose which columns you want to see, which data you want to see, and then be able to create specific views. So right here, I just have active applicants. Right here, I have top matches. So I have a filter set from match score 70 to 100. So I can see all the people that meet that criteria. And then I can add certain skills, last activity date, use my advanced filters drawer, and then be able to add views across different requisitions. So this makes it very helpful for when you are managing your pipelines and reviewing candidates. That way you're getting away from that kind of OG resume PDF view where you're having to spend time looking through 500 different PDF resumes. Now we're taking all of that data, structuring it. That way you're able to get to your most qualified candidates fastest, no matter if they applied first or if they were candidate application number 899. By using our filtering and sorting options, you're able to see those most relevant candidates first. If I want to look at the candidate profile, I just have to click their name, excuse me. And so we unify the candidate profile. This is my staging data, so that's why there isn't a ton of data in here. But you're able to see the candidate profile, which is unified for structuring and parsing for parsing purposes. This also helps reduce bias as well because we are structuring the data. Makes it a lot easier for reviewing purposes. You can also always see their actual document. Their parsed resume will be uploaded into their documents. So you can review the resume, you can review any screening questions they asked, their activity log, documents, any scorecards, manage their interviews and manage their offers and leave notes. You can also see if they're a part of any other application processes within your company and how far they got into that process. And then also you can see their current profile. So Brendan had mentioned the universal profile approach. One thing that the companies benefit off of that is having the most up-to-date information. So not only are we able to enrich their profiles with third-party data, but if a candidate applies to your company today, and then maybe 6 months from now, they apply to another company through Scalis and they update their profile, you have the access to their most up-to-date information. You'll still have access to the version of the profile that they used to apply with you, but this way your candidate database inside your ATS then becomes a living, breathing candidate database versus a large stack of 10,000 PDF resumes that are out of date within 6 months. If you want to advance candidates, you can do so straight from the profile. You can reject them. You can chat them. We have a native messaging system directly in the platform, but we also integrate with Outlook and Gmail. And also what's really nice about this table view is that you get to take a lot of bulk actions. So if I set filters for a match score of 70 and 100, I'm actually going to make it higher. I'm going to do, 86 and above. Pull here are my top applicants. I'm going to select all these applicants, and then I'm going to send them a scheduler link. So that way they're able to self-schedule their interview on my calendar. I can also send scheduler links on behalf of other people. So if I'm scheduling for my hiring manager, I can send these candidates, and those candidates will self-schedule directly through the platform. I can also take bulk actions such as reject and advance them. I can notify the candidate. We have a lot of nested workflows, and we also have automations that are currently in development. So through here, I can just advance the candidate and not notify them, or I can notify them. That way that they're staying in the loop on where they are with the process. And then I can take these 3 actions. So I can schedule later, I can request candidate availability, or send them a scheduler link. We also have a Kanban board because I love Kanban boards, and a lot of other people do too. This is really, really great for hiring manager roundups when you're in those later stages trying to review all those candidates. This is that full candidate profile version. Here you're able to see all their skills and expertises. So we have a structured skills taxonomy that's in the background. So that way skills are very structured. So even if the candidate misspells their skill on their resume, or they misspell it on their profile, we'll be able to structure and still incorporate that into the match score. Here is that messaging system that I had shown before. You can send and receive messages from candidates. From a company standpoint, there's a ton of different options to be able to make sure that your ATS is clean. I was in recruiting operations for almost 10 years, and if any of my folks were in recruiting or people operations, sometimes if you're really good at your job, you put yourself out of a job within like 3 or 4 years because you learn to optimize everything. So when coming in and building this system, I wanted to make sure that the system was set up in a way that you wouldn't necessarily need a recruiting ops person in order to make most of the system. We want the system to be able to scale with you and grow with you. And so we have the options for, some more sophisticated and advanced options, but overall the management of the system can be done by anybody without any prior training. Here's where you connect those mailboxes. So you can connect via Google or Outlook. Here are your calendar settings. So you can set your time zone, you can set your availability window, and then your scheduler link settings. So minimum scheduling notice, rolling days of availability, max interviews per day. And anyone that sets these up and they send scheduler links on behalf will follow these rules. So that way you're not getting flooded with interviews every day. We have very straightforward user management and role-based permissions. So we have org level and then job level permissions. Org level permissions, super admin, admin, member, guest. And then users get access to the jobs once they're added to a hiring team. And then we also have user groups. Sorry, that's not live yet. We also have user groups for ease for approval workflows. So if you have an HR team or a finance team and you want to make sure that they're all streamlined and in the loop, you can use those user groups to do so. Global listing setup, so you can standardize those header and footers, global screening questions to ensure that you have those mandatory screening questions across all your listings. I'd like to take a second to talk about pipeline templates. So how we approached pipeline templates are a little differently than other ATS systems. One of my favorite recruiting metrics is pipeline analytics and pass-through rates. But those are some of the hardest analytics and metrics to pull, but I think they speak the most. Unless you have someone that's making sure that all your pipelines are super, super clean and every stage is the exact same, which is, not really feasible if you are hiring for multiple different roles. Here, we make it easy because it's bucketed in these stages. So that way you can pull analytics based on a specific pipeline template or based on specific milestones. And that way you're still able to see those gaps and those bottlenecks without having to ensure that everything follows the same exact process. Because a salesperson and a software engineer is probably going to have 2 very different interview processes. Then you'll also be able to drill down based on the pipeline template or based on jobs to be able to pull that data a lot cleaner. We have scorecard templates, so you can create standardized scorecard templates. We also have an AI note taker that can be automatically added to your scorecards, and then you can autofill your scorecards based on that AI note taker. We have candidate labels, email templates, application forms, custom fields. Right now, we only have custom fields for offer fields, but we are currently in development of job fields or custom job fields, and then document templates. So you have the ability to create NDA templates, offer templates, or other. And then we have all these personalized tokens that you can put directly into the service. And then we have also offer conditions. So that way your recruiters only see the offer templates that are relevant to them. One thing that I really love about our system as well is section tokens. So you can create specific section tokens, for example, like a sign-on bonus or a relocation bonus. That way you're not having to have 50 different versions of an offer template. So you can have one version of an offer template, maybe per state or per country or region, and then just choose which section tokens you want in there based on that offer. So if I'm giving them a relocation bonus, I don't need to have a specific relocation bonus offer. I can just toggle that token on, and then that language will be added to the offer letter. We also have a bidirectional sync calendar that actually lives inside the platform. One thing that I had done in my past was I had a shared interview calendar for the entire company. So that way I can see all the interviews that I have going on for that day, and then be able to adjust and reschedule or cancel if needed, not having to rely on a specific recruiter or recruiting coordinator. So you're able to view all of your external events for that week or for that day, view your shared calendars, and then also view job-specific events. Here's your talent database. So this is your entire candidate pool from your company. So through here, you're able to also have all of the same feature and functionalities that you would have inside one of your pipelines in your jobs. So this is where I can use my advanced filters, like let's say silver medalist status. I can pull all my silver medalists and then be able to view all of those candidates. And then I can do it by match score, profile type, last activity date, and then create specific views. Can also upload candidates directly into here, through here, or through the Chrome extension. We have 5 core dashboards, and then we're continuously creating more with a dashboard builder on the way. So here you'll be able to see high-level dashboards regarding specific analytics to your company and be able to filter and sort from there. We also have core reporting and then custom report builders that are on the way. And then a referral dashboard. Gone are the days of people constantly pinging you, asking you what's the status of my referral. I can log into the platform, see exactly where my referral is, and then be able to see who it's referred by. And then whoever manages the referral program easily has a dashboard to view all of the referrals through the system. We also have in-app notifications. And then we also support multiple workspaces. One of my big pain points, I worked for a company that had multiple mergers and acquisitions. And so we would constantly have to, redo when we're bringing on a new recruiting team and redo our processes to make sure that they're super aligned. So through here, we decided to do support multiple workspaces. So if you have different brands underneath an umbrella brand with segmented recruiting teams that have specific brand loyalty, you can easily just have multiple workspaces and then have a master workspace. So that way you're able to support those multiple different recruiting efforts and recruiting processes. From the job seeker's point of view, this is what their profile looks like. Anytime they apply to a job, they are able to review their profile before they actually click submit. So they are always getting to update this and review this as necessary. They can also create a PDF resume based off of their profile. They can autofill their profile so that they can drop their resume in and it'll automatically generate a new profile for them. And then set their specific job preferences for the job board. So that way we can ensure that what jobs they are looking for are the jobs that are being recommended to them. So such as job titles, excluding job titles, job type, date posted, location preferences, so on and so forth. This is what the job board looks like. So if you log into the job board, You're able to search and sort through thousands of different jobs. So currently we have 1,600 jobs on our job board, and these are all being pulled from careers pages, our career websites. So they are, I'm sorry, the actual company websites. So that way it's not outdated data, and you're not going through, you know, various tunnel of different third-party job boards. So they're being pulled directly from career pages. And then they're able to sort from best match to newest. Obviously, best match is going to be more optimized if they create an account. They can sort by date posted, job category, industry, experience level. And then we have all these additional filters that they can search from. And then we also have Scalis Quick Apply, which then will pull all of the Scalis jobs that are in the ATS. And then the candidates can directly apply using their profile. So they can look at their profile, make any adjustments, answer any screening questions. The answer to that is always yes, and then submit the application. And then they can track all of their jobs through here. So they can track the job, they can see what the pipeline looks like. Recruiters have the discretion of being able to show which stages they will actually want public or internal. So the pipeline doesn't always have to be public to the candidate. They can see what the status is, what stage they're in. And then they can also contact the company, which will then send an email to the primary contact on the job. And then if the candidate is messaging back and forth with the recruiter, the candidate can't message them first, just right after they apply. They have to reach a certain point in the process, such as having an interview scheduled, in order to be able to directly message the recruiter. So you won't be inundated with messages from candidates. They can also track their external applications. So if I'm applying to jobs outside of the Scalis job board, I can also input them here. So that way I have one source of truth for all my job seeking efforts. Bookmark jobs, and then invite. So when employers invite me to apply to jobs, I can go ahead and look at the job listing and then click apply now, and then apply with my profile, and then it'll be put into that jobs pipeline. Brandon, anything else that I didn't show that I should show?
No, I think I know we only got 22 minutes left here, so I want to make sure we have time for Q&A as well.
Right. Well, I think I'm about done, but yeah, excited for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you so much, Lizzie. It's a very cool product. Yeah, we'll open it up. Folks in the audience, what questions do you have for Brandon and or Lizzie, or both of them?
I guess my question would be, as far as who are your competitors, and how do you separate yourself from, the number of, recruiting applications that are out there?
Yeah, I think to start, because of the way that we've architected the system to get all that proprietary data, because that's what's enabling us to do all these really cool things with AI and from a sourcing standpoint. The initial competitive set is the existing ATS players in the market. There's no one really who is doing both ATS and sourcing. I mean, the closest that you could get to it is like a gem, but they don't have the structured data profiles or sort of the reinforcement learning and feedback loop. So long term, we're going after LinkedIn Recruiter. That's our sort of pie in the sky. In 5 years, we want to be the industry standard for that. But to start, it really is ATS. And then depending on the ATS that you're currently on, the differentiation points differ. I mean, for like when I'm talking to a greenhouse user, the ability to slice and dice your pipeline in this way is a huge value add versus having to go one by one with each resume. Also, the ability to refresh all of your past applicants when you migrate over to Scalis, so you can actually nurture and re-engage and communicate with them, is another huge value add. Ease of integration with the HRIS system, not having to pay for an HRIS link and having to wait 6-9 months for a custom integration to be built. A lot of those things are ATS to ATS, apples to apples comparisons that we really hone in on. But long term, we're a talent acquisition platform. We're not just a tracking and management solution for your candidates.
And have you found it to be easy to integrate with other large corporations, or I know there can be sometimes compliance issues I mean, how's that gone with?
Yeah, so we have GDPR compliance baked into the platform. We have our SOC 2 certification that'll be live in about 2 months. We're just wrapping up the audit process because there's like a period of time that they have to monitor it for before you get the official certification. But all those security requirements we've addressed from day one, partially because, you know, Lizzie was using Greenhouse and Workday and was familiar with the requirements that are needed from a more enterprise level business to be able to use a solution like ours.
Thanks. I'll let other people talk now.
It sounds like, from my perspective, and maybe this is just like modern vernacular, you're kind of positioning yourself as like an all-in-one solution. Would you say that's accurate?
That is accurate. And the thing I would add to that is that there's a build or buy conversation that we go through every single time we think about how to be an all-in-one platform. So in the case of the AI interview note taker, we did not build that ourselves because, for one, there's already a lot that are out there. Two, there's significant benefits to using an AI note taker that's being used by thousands and thousands of other companies because they're able to train that note taker in a way that we would not be able to individually across all the other businesses that are using it. So that's why we have it embedded native to the platform, because I know if you try to be everything for everyone, like, it's impossible. So that's why we integrate the best in class providers in spots where it makes sense in order to offer that functionality natively to the customer. Same with e-signature. It's not like we built e-signature. We just brought Dropbox sign in, white labeled it so that it's an offering that our customers can just take advantage of immediately. So that's the only thing I would add to that.
Sure. I agree with that thesis. I would be curious. Some would sit on the other side of the spectrum and say, your point makes total sense. Another person would say, or another builder in this space would say, I did build everything because what I wanted was data cohesion. The ability for, on the back end, for a user to be able to track their data across every touch point, whether it be through the video interview or whether it be through the note taker, whatever. Kind of curious to know what y'all are doing on the data side, because we know that obviously data is a very big component of why an ATS wins over another. 9 out of 10 times when people switch on over to one of the purple competitors in the ATS space, who I won't name, it's because they really like their data flow. And the green competitor doesn't seem to do so great on the data side. So kind of curious, what have you guys done on data? How do you think about it?
Yeah, so things like the AI interview note taker, we get the whole transcription from them and we take it, put it into our own system and then structure and standardize it. So it's less about where the data is coming from and more that we can get it in a raw format and do with it what we please. So that's a big point when it comes to the data cleanliness as well. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Lizzie.
Yeah, so this is something that's super top of mind for me, as I was a green user, a green system user for a long time. And kind of Brandon had said, you know, I actually went and tried to get my degree in data science because just so I could learn how to do a lot of these tools that the systems that I had in place weren't giving me. So we are very rigid on the back end with our database. We did a whole schema migration to ensure that we have a very consistent naming convention for everything. So even when we are doing integrations and white labeling, all the information that's coming through from whatever connection that we have, whether it's through a JSON, whether it's through an API file or a JSON file or an API connection, we are standardizing and structuring all of that data to make sure that it matches whatever's in the system. So even with the transcription, we are able to put all of that and then it's organized into a very consistent format. It's kind of similar to our skills taxonomy. That's why we built a skills taxonomy. So that way, when we gather insights from the AI note taker or scorecards or job descriptions, we can structure all of that and then be able to pull reporting off that. So as of lately, there has been nothing that we can't pull data off of because the back end of our system and the lack of tech debt in there, it's so clean and rigid because data and reporting was something that was extremely top of mind for me when we were building this.
Awesome.
Yeah, what you're looking at is a V2 platform as well. We built V1 over the course of like 2 years, starting all the way back in like 2021. I was going through my earnout. My brother was still finishing up school, on and on. We basically got to what we're looking at today. but then threw everything out so that we could architect the database from the ground up. He built that from scratch. Everything is a one-to-one relationship from the database to this, because a lot of startups, they'll have a V1 platform, they'll have to migrate over to a V2, do change management of all their existing customers. We just did that before even going live to ensure that data cleanliness from day one.
Love it. Thank you. Not to dominate, but we have 2 questions in the chat that I'll read, or I'll read one, and then I can read the second one. The first one's from Andy. Great product, but a lot of the value seems to depend on getting as many clients as possible on this system to contribute to the walled garden of Scalis. How are you thinking of this as a potential risk to your business?
Yeah, the chicken and the egg problem is one that we're constantly thinking of. And that's why, actually, if you look at the production job board that's live on Scalis right now, you'll see 100,000 jobs, because we scrape in from Workday, Ashby, Lever, Greenhouse, and about 2 or 3 others. And so that solves the chicken and the egg problem for the recommendations that we're sending to job seekers. Because if they started with Scalis on day 1, there'd be like 2 Scalis jobs we would prefer them into. Obviously, those aren't going to be relevant recommendations for the job seeker. That's also why we've worked so closely with Lizzie and all these other super user advisors to make sure that we're still providing a phenomenal experience from an ATS standpoint that is better if you're just comparing like ATS apples to apples, whether it's the structured data filtering, whether it's, you know, the all-in-one nature of the system. So that way we can still win on a head-to-head comparison from a pure ATS feature standpoint. But the amount of scale that our platform experiences from just one client onboarding is tremendous. On average, our jobs get about 763 applicants per role. So if you're a business, you migrate over to our platform and you're hiring for 25 open roles a month, you drive about 183,000 net new applicants to the Scalis ecosystem on an annual basis. So we're talking about millions and millions of job seekers by the end of the year, even if only, you know, we onboard 10 mid-market customers to use the system. So yes, I completely agree with you. For us to achieve our like LinkedIn recruiter dreams, we have to get scale and get as many clients as possible onto the system. But in order to be a highly effective ATS system, you know, that's why we spent so much time and money to get to this point before we even launched it. Does that answer your question?
She didn't go. She gave you the thumbs up.
I got the thumbs up.
Question from Lindsay. How does your system parse data from PDF file resumes and the picture resumes, i.e. when candidates upload a JPEG file of their resume? Do they have to add the fields manually on their end?
So I'll just add one comment to this and then I'll let you take it, Lizzie. This parsing technology wasn't even possible until about 9 months ago because of accuracy and because of cost effectiveness. So that's one. And 2 is we leverage different models to be able to actually create that. So it has like 99% uptime and efficacy, and it takes anywhere between 3 to 20 seconds for it to parse now. But I'll let you add additional thoughts, Lizzie.
Yeah, so we currently only support DocX, Word, and PDF upload. The candidate always has the option to complete the profile manually, but you know, 98% of applications come through from an AI parsing. So all they have to do is drop a docx file or a PDF file, and then it'll regenerate their profile or generate their profile for the first time. It just depends. And then it'll parse it all out into the structured data. So it'll, you know, take into consideration if you have bullet points. It's because I've uploaded several resumes into this profile, but they can upload documents, other documents through here. And then be able to edit their basic info. So it's being able to structure into a very, it's being able to be parsed into a very structured format. But no, we do not support JPEG or PNG uploaded files, but that is a good use case that I will definitely look into.
Awesome. Any last questions before we jump into the reverse questions? I know I have one. Cost.
Yeah, so to be blunt, our pricing model is pretty immature at this stage. Most of the businesses that we're talking to, they're already on an existing provider. So we use that as a benchmark, and then we're anywhere between 20 to 70% less than whatever they're paying. It really just depends on which salesperson they got at one of the not to be named competitors and what time of the quarter they signed their contract, because I've seen wild things at this point. Some very low price offerings, some extremely high. And so we just benchmark off of that. And then for businesses that aren't on an ATS yet, we just do it based off of employee headcount, which I'm still not satisfied with. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but I definitely don't want to do it on a per seat basis, because per seat platforms, there's just constant abuse of the seat usage, and it's just a nightmare to maintain and scale. And I don't think the employee headcount works well either. But what we've done is, if you are an employer, and let's say you're like at 1,000 employees, well, there's no function in any of these other systems to account for the fact that you might be downsizing, or you might be on a hiring freeze, and you're still paying 1,000-person organization style pricing. So we have the means to reduce your contract by 80%, still keep your everything in the system, all the data fresh, et cetera. So that's what we've done in the meantime. But over time, we'll eventually move to more of like some sort of usage-based model, and even potentially get into benefiting employers if they're adding more applicants into our system. Because again, that's really what we're going for, is those network effects. So maybe you're paying, $1,000 a month, but you only we credit you $400 because of the amount of applicants that you brought in through your hiring efforts that month. That's where pricing is at right now.
Very cool. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Lizzie. This is now where we open it up to you to ask any questions. If you have any, you might not have any at all. But you have, I think now on the call, 15 talent leaders. Every single one of them are heads of talent, running their own recruiting function at a mid-sized or hyper-growth technology startup. So very specific demographic here. Happy to answer any questions that you may have for the ecosystem.
We're going to need another hour. But I would say the thing most top of mind to you would be, what keeps you up at night? What are the things, like, what's the number one thing that's, you driving you crazy right now, or is the highest priority for you? There's a lot of noise in the space as well right now. So I guess what is top of mind for you in general would be where I would start.
Folks, please just go off mute.
I could just select one of the 18. That would be fun.
That works too.
Figuring out how to easily resurface silver medal candidates. My follow-on question to that would be, what's currently blocking you from being able to do that?
Bandwidth and time. It's easier to just post, but it would be nice to know. Yeah, that's like what would be nice because we have good candidates, but my tagging is not good enough to be able to go back and look for them. So I would say bandwidth and time is preventing that. And then I just post it again.
Yeah, I think that's super helpful, and it honestly validates some of the things that we built into the system. So medalist designation and tagging is actually built into the rejection workflows as an option. So that way you can make it super consistent, and you can also create, and it's like separate from the tag. So it's actually an attribute that you can give to the candidate. So if you're rejecting them and they are one of the final stages of the interview process, or if they were just a really solid candidate and you don't have the space for them, you can mark them as a silver medalist candidate, part of your rejection flow. And so that'll make it a lot easier for you to be able to resurface that, because then you can also pull it in from your inbound pipelines, being able to pull a silver medalist or a bronze medalist, and then also pull it in from your existing talent database. So I could have a view, and let me call it like silver medalist. I could have a view like this, create new view, and then be able to automatically have a list of all my silver medalist candidates. So anyone that has ever been given a silver medalist, now this is my staging environment, so I don't have any, but anybody that ever becomes a silver medalist in the future is able to be automatically added to this list without any manual effort on your end. Does that kind of help that situation a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, and then you would be able to further define it by location, job attributes, skills.
Absolutely.
That's sort of the second line too, because we auto source your past applicants into your pipelines for you. So like in the sourcing stage, you'll see, Scalis put 4 of my silver medal candidates into this new position that I just posted in the system. If you're not happy with those 4, or if you want more, then you could go into the talent pool and do what Lizzie just did.
Is there a way that you could search for mission alignment? Is that something that you can build into, based on how much effort they put into an application question, or let's say you're looking for candidates that previously come from like a fintech company, like only if they have fintech, or something like that, or for a mission-driven company, have to have like nonprofit or social impact. Is there anything like that in there?
Absolutely. So we take that information and parse that part of their data, but then we also kind of enrich the data with company data. So let's say you are looking for a candidate that has been at least one fintech company with an average tenure of 3.5 years. You can set that criteria and be able to service those types of candidates from your database automatically.
And we partnered with Crunchbase to pull in all those company insights. So like when you're looking at a candidate also, you can hover over the past companies and you can get context in terms of like, oh, they were at 600 employees when this person was there. This is how much funding they had. This was the industry that they were in. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Another question.
I have a tidbit for you, Brandon. What we've seen, just wanted to provide this because I think it's valuable. A lot of talent leaders right now at mid to larger size companies, so think of it like 100+ people organizations, obviously are typically reporting to the CPO, Chief People Officer, the CEO. There's it's hard to get recruiting budget right now in general, right? It's hard to convince your CEO that you need another tool, or your Chief People Officer that you need another tool. However, I think we've all seen the trend that there is a mandate to implement AI in some function of the workflow, so that we can optimize the recruiting function. So while there might not be budget for a traditional tool, there is budget for AI enablement. So one thing that I would say is driving, I wouldn't say people crazy, but one thing that's top of mind for a lot of hiring leaders right now at those larger size organizations is how to find and what tools are going to be the AI solutions that they want to take bets on that are meant to drive more value, more production, more outcomes, and reduce the overall cost of recruiting in the long term.
No, that's awesome to hear, because one of the things I'm most excited about is how we're decoupling the Scalis AI sourcing and CRM from like the ATS. So you don't have to be an ATS customer to take advantage of that. We've done that for a variety of reasons. I'll get on a call with somebody and they just re-upped with one of the competitors for 2 years and they can't, do a wholesale ATS change right now. So like, well, great. Well, you can plug in the CRM and the AI sourcing and be able to leverage that. The second is like going through procurement processes. We've met with so many enterprise companies, they're stuck in like a 3 or 5 year contract with like SAP or something. Their procurement team's not going to let them bring through another ATS. They will let them bring through a CRM, and then they'll be able to start using the ATS as a component of that as well. So that actually my question was going to be like, in terms of budget and this all-in-one versus using multiple tools and integrating them together, like what are you all hearing, or what is your organization currently emphasizing? Because I know Glizzy had to use like 5 different tools with the green competitor to make it work. Are you like best in class and integrate together? Or are you looking for all-in-one solutions? And how does that, how is that a function of the budget requirements that you have?
My 2 cents is that it would be nice if you could get all the tools you needed, sort of under one roof, but maybe you could like opt in or opt out of certain tools.
Yeah, like a feature flag, being able to toggle it on or toggle off.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Awesome. Well, I got a lot of other questions, but I know we're at time here. So I appreciate everybody participating and sharing your insights.
Yeah, we're at time. Brandon, we could always schedule another time and call it a research. Google a second what Matt says. We can call it a research hour. More than happy to do that. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're out of time, but we'll do a quick thumbs up for the ecosystem. Folks, if Scalis is a product that you would buy tomorrow, or a product that you would want to have demoed tomorrow in consideration for purchasing, please thumbs up in the channel now. There we go. We're seeing the thumbs, folks. It's good stuff. And one exploded. That's extra thumbs up. Guys, great job. Thank you so much for coming in today to Syelo Tank. We really appreciate having you. You built a great product. Brandon, one of our biggest critiques of entrepreneurs in this space, building in this space, is that they never actually build with recruiters by their side. So kudos to you for getting Lizzie on board early on. Very smart move. And it shows. So thank you guys for jumping on. And Brandon, we'll follow up with you outside to see if there's future potential collaboration to be had.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thanks for having us, and nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.